Who are we if we can't protect them?
2018 gave us not one, but two surprise smash horror hits about an apocalyptic scenario revolving around one of our five senses. Bird Box, in which people have to forego sight, and A Quiet Place, in which they have to live without making a sound. Both movies are compelling as visceral, almost interactive experiences. We subtly participate in the attempt to live blind or quietly.
People really feel that this is an experience, that it's not just a movie. You're actually going through something with this family. It feels almost like a virtual reality or something.
But the similarities go far deeper than the sensory element.
Really what this movie kind of is about, it's a giant metaphor for parenthood.
It's a metaphor for motherhood.
Ultimately, both are allegories of parenting. These movies are looking at how parenting is an experience of fear. Whether the terrors are age-old, specific to today's society, or part of an apocalyptic future, the fundamental challenge of parenting is learning to manage the fear. To be a competent parent is to ensure your child's survival. But to be a great parent is to do this while offering your child more than just a life of panic and avoiding danger.
I have so much I want you to see.
So here's our take on what Bird Box and A Quiet Place have to say about the anxieties of modern parenting and how to raise kids well when you may be facing end times.
Oddly, this came about when my kids said, why don't you make something for us? And so I now realize they were talking about, animated or Marvel.
Before we go on, we want to tell you a little bit about this video sponsor. Mubi is a curated film streaming service with a twist. You get 30 films per month, a new film every day. It's a hand-picked selection of movie gems from around the world. So click the link in our description below to get a full month of Mubi for free. On the most basic level, Bird Box and A Quiet Place are about the universal, time-old fear that is becoming responsible for a vulnerable mini-human being. The heightened dangers in these stories dramatize the underlying terror any parent feels anyway.
I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much.
Krasinski started making A Quiet Place soon after having his second daughter with Emily Blunt, so he channeled his own fears into the movie.
I was in that new parenthood phase of being actually terrified that I could keep my daughter safe and keep her alive and making sure we were doing everything we could as parents, and that's exactly what this movie's all about.
Both stories center on a woman who is pregnant in the worst possible circumstances. From the first moment we observe that Evelyn is expecting, we're filled with a visceral anxiety. How on earth is she supposed to give birth without making a sound? And oh yeah, after that, there's the small hitch of persuading a newborn baby not to cry. Sandra Bullock's Mallory is a reluctant parent to begin with, in denial about what's growing inside her.
I never slept well before this condition.
It's called pregnancy. It's okay to say it out loud.
Oh, don't you know, doctor, that if you just don't acknowledge a thing, it simply goes away.
After disaster strikes, we start to participate in the terror she was already feeling about raising a tiny life.
You're having a baby, Mallory.
I know.
Mallory's journey of coming to acknowledge that she can do this, that she's up to the impossible task that being a mom is, feels like a stand-in for any woman's struggle to overcome her self-doubt as she transitions into motherhood. Watching these women go into labor without trained medical professionals, let alone the drugs, and while somehow evading supernatural monsters, gives us renewed respect for how incredible it is to bring life into this world in any circumstances.
It's a boy.
From that point on, as with parenting in general, it pretty much just gets harder for these women.
Give me the children or I'll take them.
Yet they rise to the occasion, and then some. Both movies also feature a father figure who sacrifices himself to save his kids, in a moving expression of total love.
No.
Go, please, go. Be good, go.
For Krasinski, this sacrifice is the core of what motivated him in directing A Quiet Place.
This is weirdly a love letter to my daughters.
We might also read into the fact that Krasinski made A Quiet Place after fathering his second child. He portrays the anxiety of caring for more than one kid, the feeling of being pulled in multiple directions, the fear that you'll let one down while attending to another.
I was carrying the bag, but my hands were free.
You have to stop.
So I could have carried it.
In Bird Box, this conflict of choosing between your children is even made literal.
One of you is going to have to look.
So these characters are processing exaggerated versions of anxieties all parents feel.
How do I keep this girl safe? How do I keep her alive? Am I a good enough person to be her dad? All these bigger conversations are happening in this movie.
But by the end, these mothers and fathers accomplish superhuman feats. These movies are telling us that, despite our doubts, parenthood brings out a strength we didn't know we had.
You have to protect them. Promise me. You will protect them.
It has the potential to make heroes of us all.
And I am their mother.
Another interpretation of these films is that they depict the hyper-perfectionist, paranoid parenting environment of upper-middle-class Western society. So rather than illustrating what parenting could become in an apocalyptic tomorrow, in this reading, these films are symbolic representations of what parenting already is today.
We don't want the boys to be getting mixed up with the wrong crowd.
They're 6.
Some have viewed Mallory as an example of the tiger mom.
Listen to me. I'm only going to say this once. We are going on the trip now. It's going to be rough.
The ultra-strict mother as popularized in Amy Chua's Battle Hymn of the Tiger Mother in 2011.
School is too easy. You need to make school more challenging or else my son will fall behind.
She embodies the mindset that you have to be hard on your kids, even mean, if that's what it takes, because the world will be even harder. The first time we see Mallory, the power of this scene is that we hear her speaking before we see who she's talking to.
Under no circumstance are you allowed to take off your blindfold. If I find that you have, I will hurt you. Do you understand?
When the camera cuts to her audience, we have an immediate reaction, because in polite society, this is not how a mother is supposed to speak to her children.
If you look, you will die. Do you understand?
But in Mallory's world, and in the tiger mom mindset, it's necessary to put the fear of God into your kids, to make them listen by any means necessary.
You have to do every single thing I say, or we will not make it.
Because the alternative is that they'll get eaten alive by a hyper-competitive, ruthless society.
I've mapped out all the classes and experiences you boys need to be successful and lead good lives.
For her performance, Bullock channeled that total fear a parent feels when their child's safety is threatened.
Because you never let yourself get to that place unless you're really scared. If your child runs out into the street, you don't go, get back here. You go, what are you doing? Get over here.
And in both stories, we see a reflection of today's parents' pervasive anxiety that making even one mistake will destroy their children's lives.
I should have carried him.
Many parents probably wish they could be more relaxed and fun, but they're truly afraid that if they don't push and prepare their children, they won't be okay.
Every single decision I have made has been for them. Every single one.
Natalie Riley wrote in The Guardian that Bird Box and A Quiet Place send the despairing message that parents today feel the world is beyond saving, and all they can do is protect their own kids. Quote, all of us, mothers in particular, are not simply powerless against the horrors of the world, but deliberately blind to them. But if parents can look out for their kids, make sure they have an edge, then they can transcend the housing crisis, the rising cost of living, the barriers against social mobility, the evils of racism, poverty, disease, and the internet to become rich and therefore safe. This might also remind us of the Black Mirror episode Archangel, the creepy cautionary tale of the ultimate helicopter parent who uses technology to stop her daughter from seeing anything that causes her unease.
If she witnesses something that causes her cortisol levels to rise, like stress, it can kind of paint out whatever's triggering it.
Yet, while it's easy to criticize today's overzealous helicopter parents for seeing imaginary perils everywhere, the threats in Bird Box and A Quiet Place are very real. The worst thing a parent could do is not impress upon their child just how serious these dangers really are, as Mallory and Tom, and Evelyn and Lee learn the hard way. To simply dismiss these protective parents as wrong is a bit like joining the crazy sect of people in Bird Box who try to make everyone take off their blindfolds and kill themselves.
I've seen the truth! Take your blindfold off!
It's like being Gary.
Isn't it beautiful?
No! Why are you doing this, Gary? Please don't do this, Gary. Please don't.
Don't be like Gary.
I knew you're lunatic! You piece of shit, we saved you!
So the moral here isn't that we should just stop worrying about our kids. Yet at the same time, Mallory eventually realizes that fear alone isn't an effective motivator.
She's scared of you.
What?
She's scared of you.
To be a good parent, you have to give your child more than fear of the world.
They deserve dreams. They deserve love. They deserve hope.
Moreover, if we're too hell-bent on ensuring our child's safety and narrowly defined success, we just might blind ourselves to their greater, out-of-the-box potential. In A Quiet Place, we see Lee fretting over his daughter Regan's deafness. This is a world where not being able to hear the sounds which attract the deadly monsters puts your life even more at risk. So Lee represents how parents might worry even more intensely for a child with a disability or disadvantage in a cutthroat world. Because Lee is so afraid for his daughter, he channels all his love for her into working on a solution to fix her problem. And the result is he spends most of the movie overlooking the person who's in front of him.
You still love her, right?
Of course I do.
You should tell her.
Regan's deafness indirectly leads to the key breakthrough in fighting the monsters, when she discovers that she can use her hearing device to torture them with loud sounds. So in the end, what makes her different saves the day. And the lesson in Lee's story is to have faith in your children. If they don't fit society's commonly prescribed notions of perfection, don't rush to see this as simply a weakness or a problem. The ways that they're atypical could help them approach the world in a creative, powerful way all their own. Likewise, at the end of Bird Box, Mallory and the two kids arrive at a school for the blind where people have created a safe community, helped by the fact that blind people are invulnerable to these monsters. So the revelation is that something normally seen as a disability in our society has become the ultimate ability in this world. As we face new threats, human beings survive and excel by adapting and evolving. And if we're restricted by narrow-minded, fear-driven expectations about our children's future, we might stand in the way of our children doing just that.
I wanna go play. You wanna go play?
The end game. Humanity has been judged and we've been found wanting.
Finally, we have the literal level of these stories about apocalyptic near futures, expressing our collective anxieties about the planet the next generations will inherit. These films ask, what kind of world are we bringing our children into? How can we be good parents in an increasingly unstable, threatening world that may, in our lifetimes, become far more dangerous than we can even imagine? We see this fear expressed in other current movies too.
Climate change, refugees, epidemics, extreme weather.
And this isn't in some distant future. You will live to see this. You know, my children will experience this unlivability.
And unfortunately for many people today, fearing for one's children's survival is already very much a reality. Both movies intentionally tell us very little about their monsters, so the audience is free to project all kinds of contemporary threats onto these vague creatures.
That takes on the form of your worst fears or your deepest sadness or your greatest loss.
Bird Box's monsters have been read as representing everything from climate change, war in Syria, and racism to social media.
I think I see a whole bunch of people sitting together, but they all feel incredibly lonely.
Well, the loneliness is just incidental. It's really about people's inability to connect.
One reason Mallory doesn't want to bring a child into this world is that she feels the previous generation has messed it up.
You sound like my father.
Like your father, why was he a towering intellect given to dispensing wisdom to undeserving fools?
Yes, he was fluent in asshole as well.
We could read this as an analogy for the idea that older generations messed up our planet and economy and then failed to take responsibility.
And just like you, he blamed everything he did on some deeper meaning, convoluted conspiracy theories, and how it was everybody else's fault when he was clearly in the wrong.
Mallory's reluctance to be a mother reflects the fear that it's too late to undo the damage already done to our world. The young children in Bird Box and A Quiet Place begin a life that's completely foreign to how we approach the early years of child raising in middle-class Western society. Going straight into a breathable baby coffin is not how we tend to picture the ideal environment for a newborn. But we've returned to a state in which a parent's main job is to keep the child alive, and in comparison to survival, our typical concern for young children's development appear insignificant. Coddling your child or putting their immediate happiness first will get them killed. So while we saw these stories symbolically represent contemporary parenting, in their actual details they're a harsh departure from how today's children are protected and cultivated. In this ultra-dangerous world, children are treated like little adults. They have to become self-sufficient a lot faster, and parents have to accept a much higher level of risk and pain for their children.
Oh, I know you're cold. Hold on. No, all the food and the blankets. God damn it!
This might make us recall previous eras in our not-too-remote history when children had to work and bear more of the household burden. As Jennifer Sr.'s All Joy and No Fun chronicles, it was only really after World War II that children started to be sentimentalized and protected, to become, in the words of a sociologist Sr. quotes, economically worthless but emotionally priceless. So Bird Box's and A Quiet Place's futures seem to show us going backward to more bare-bones parenting styles of the past. Still, both leave us with a timeless piece of parenting advice, that no matter how tough it gets out there, our job is to help our children not just survive, but also thrive.
So that they survive.
Surviving is not living, Mal.
Bird Box emphasizes that survival is not enough.
Tell me about this.
Oh, it's purely survival.
Purely survival.
And even that survival is impossible without an inner life.
Because they have to believe in something. What is this for if they don't have anything to believe in, Mal?
This is expressed in Mallory's argument with Tom over whether they should feed the kids stories of a better possible world.
It's not a story, it's a lie. Because they are never gonna climb trees. They are never gonna make new friends.
The survive versus thrive debate is also embodied in the two expecting mothers in Bird Box. Whereas Mallory won't think about naming her child, Olympia wants to name her daughter after a Disney princess.
Well, if it's a girl, we wanted to name her like Ariel or Jasmine. I mean, I would love to name her Cinderella and just call her Ella.
In this new world, Olympia's sweet, loving nature feels like a liability.
You're not soft like me. I'm so spoiled.
And indeed, as Olympia seems to foresee, she dies while Mallory survives. So Mallory leans into her hard outlook.
You haven't given them names, Mal. Their names are boy and girl.
Mallory seems to sense some of Olympia's nature in Girl.
Louis?
Told you to stay on the boat.
This explains part of Mallory's discomfort with Girl. She fears that the girl's sweetness will get her killed.
Say it. If something happens to me, what do you do? You save yourself. Say it. Say it.
I saved myself.
You save yourself. I can't trust you.
The conflict between surviving and thriving comes to a head in the Sophie's Choice-like climax of the film, when Mallory must choose which of her two children will help them navigate the rapids, and very likely, die.
Somebody has to look.
I'll look.
No, I will decide, okay? I will decide. Just give me a second.
Mallory at first seems to lean toward choosing Girl, given that she turns down Boy's offer to look twice.
I'll do it.
No. I'm the one who will say who looks, okay? I say it.
We might infer this is partly because Boy is her biological child, or because we've seen she fears for Girl anyway.
I'll do it.
But finally, Mallory decides not to make this impossible choice.
Nobody's looking. Okay, nobody's looking.
In not making the choice, it would seem that Mallory has actually chosen for them all to die, It's a fool's errand to go down river rapids without looking where you're going. But we get a deus ex machina of sorts when all three survive and are able to swim to the nearby shore. We can read into this a deeper symbolism. While logic would make us think she has to sacrifice one child to save the other, her embracing blind faith instead, refusing to sacrifice the good to the necessary, is rewarded with the miracle of both children surviving and making it to their destination. In the end, Mallory realizes that Tom was right.
I was wrong. I shouldn't have been so hard. I shouldn't have stopped you from playing. I shouldn't have ended Tom's story because it wasn't finished.
And her decision to finally name their children after Olympia and Tom, the two people who inspired her to see life as more than survival.
Your name is Olympia. Yeah. Named after the sweetest girl I ever met.
Signals her embracing their lesson.
Your name is Tom.
A Quiet Place also addresses this question of surviving versus thriving, but it reverses the parental roles on this issue. The father is more focused on his children's survival, while their mother encourages them to develop. Emily Blunt said she connected to her character's, quote, desire she has to just, amidst this brutal world, want to inject into her children's lives some kind of warmth and ability to thrive.
We know where the music's playing.
So while the world is indeed changing and our children may be entering a more hostile environment in many ways, the deepest truths of parenting don't change.
This is strawberry. This is what strawberry tastes like.
Even if it becomes increasingly necessary to encourage a healthy dose of fear in our children, it remains just as crucial to inspire them to prosper, to embrace all parts of themselves, and to dream.
You need to promise them dreams that may never come true. You need to love them, knowing that you may lose them at any second.
We need to trust our kids and allow them the space to discover how strong they really are.
They know what to do.
And we need to give them hope. As human beings, we'll always need the vision of a tomorrow we can believe in.
Life is more than just what is, it's what could be, what you could make it.
Hi guys, this is Alani, and today I want to talk to you about one of our favorite places to watch movies, Mubi. Mubi is a treasure trove of films from around the globe. Every day, a new film is added and the oldest is taken away. So, in this world where it's very easy to spend hours debating what you should watch, Mubi is like having a really cool friend with amazing taste in movies, making it so much easier for you. They feature hard-to-come-by masterpieces, indie festival darlings, influential art house and foreign films, lesser-known films by your favorite famous directors, and more. Plus, you can even download the films to watch offline, and there are no ads, ever.
One movie you can watch right now on Mubi is Blue Steel. It's directed by Kathryn Bigelow, who became the first woman to win a Best Director Oscar for her film, The Hurt Locker. Blue Steel is the gripping story of a rookie cop being chased by a psychopath.
We can't recommend Mubi highly enough. You can try it out for free for a whole month. Just click the link in the description below.